yes, here we go. It's the Sunday Blether, another undignified Sunday Blether because David Logue, Johnny's lad, he is missing again in action. You need to have a word with him, Johnny. But there's even the more dignified sort of usual pundits he gets, like Regan, like Phil. They're missing. The judge doesn't do Sunday mornings anymore. I think that's to do with his work, to be fair. So you're left with the rascal again, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning to you all, and a good morning to you, Johnny. What's happening?
Good morning, Bhoycie. Yeah, but like when Phil puts out the light in the sky and David has to answer on a Friday morning, you put the Bhoycie light out last night about midnight, I think it was, and I was maybe the only one that was still up and sober enough to say, yeah, I'll do it. Or maybe drunk enough to say, yeah, I'll do it. So happy to try and help you out, keep the wheels rolling a little bit, yeah.
That's appreciated, mate. That's normally the plan. I wait till about midnight, make sure everyone's a decent level of pishness, and I'm like, who fancies tomorrow morning? I was like, yeah, right up for talking about Celtic. But at least we got one. That was yourself, big man. We'll do all that good stuff before we get started. All that good stuff means right now, hit that wee thumb button below the screen. Give it a wee like. If you want to give us a share on the social media, brilliant. Do become a subscriber. We've got 2,400 and something. It seemed to take a wee spike yesterday, so a big thank you to all of those subscribers, new and old. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like so many of you have, then of course you can join the likes of the Slabbering Cabbage, Joe Brown, Mikey Moynihan, and loads of others, all the usual. Phil McGinley and that. It's $1.99. Robot Rock is another member, just came in. $1.99 a month, but the content's always free. You don't have to do it. It's just your way of a wee token gesture. I'm really knocking my headset off and everything. I'm all over the place this Sunday morning. Right, okay, we are nearly ready. There's another member just jumped in, Stephen Fleming. Good morning to you as well, Caracal. How are you? Hope everyone's good. We will get cracking because Champions League duty looms. Have a wee quick look back at yesterday, and we'll tie it in with the Champions League. I think a lot of people yesterday, Johnny, including the likes of Terry and myself and the PMP, were referring to the fact Celtic seemed to get another injection of confidence, injection of intensity, purpose when Rio Hatate was introduced to the scene yesterday. I expect him to start on Tuesday as well. How big a player is he?
Oh, well, the very difference that you seen when he came on yesterday. It's like you and Terry were saying last night. You just said he definitely brought a different dynamic to the team. He's a vital cog. He has been missed so far this season, I think. I do think yesterday we were a bit more fluid.
I thought so.
Overall, I was a bit worried at one stage that we were heading for another St. Johnstone sort of type game where things weren't going to quite go out. I mean, if we just jump ahead the way O'Reilly took his goal yesterday. I mean, he had 2 or 3 chances like that against St. Johnstone and they didn't come off. Whereas yesterday, they did come off. And so it's just a little sign of steps going forward and improvements being made on a weekly basis. And that's all we can really ask for at the minute from what is a weekend squad from last season, I think, anyway.
Yeah, no, I take that on board as well. I think the squad overall, we'll find out. There's still too many question marks to write off any of the new signings in particular. Some of them might go on and have better careers than those who've been at Celtic or been let go or sold by Celtic in recent times. You never know. I think the squad, though, right now at the beginning of this season compared with the beginning of last season where you had the likes of Giacomakis as well as Jota, Juranovic, have they been replaced with the same quality? As much as I prefer Alistair Johnston, I would have loved Alistair Johnston and Juranovic competing for right back. I don't know why Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. The real reason I'm bringing up Hatate is because I think there's a chance. I do think there's a chance that Celtic could have a Japanese trio that could send some sort of, let's not call it shockwaves, but wait for this for a word. Reverberations around Europe. Oh, someone's had these sweet picks this morning. Get in there. But I think they could.
10 minutes late, you've been looking at the dictionary, haven't you?
That's it, man. Fucking come on. Think of a good word today, man. You can do it, Bhoycie. But I think you get this sometimes with teams. I'm sure it was Basil. Someone could correct me in the chat. It's crap when Phil's not here because he's usually right on this. Pat McLaughlin, he's usually pretty good as well in the chat. But I'm sure, like Basel, for example, had randomly 2 Argentine strikers playing in the Swiss league for them, and they got kind of famed at one point and did a lot of damage. Why can't it be Celtic with this Japanese trio? I think these guys all played in the Champions League last year. 2 of them have signed a new deal. We're trying to get the other one to sign a new deal. In their experience of the Champions League, not one of them scored. Hatate kind of ran away celebrating, but it was an OG it went down as. And Maeda and Kyogo, the more forward type players, if you like, neither of them got a goal in the Champions League, excuse me. They will be, I think, chomping at the bit for their second goal at this competition. And I was talking with Terry yesterday about how this is not going to be like playing St Johnstone, like playing Dundee in the Champions League. These teams will be far higher up the park. Rodgers may well look at someone with the guile, the vision of Hatate. We've seen it, think back to last year's Champions League when he did that sort of volley on the half turn, remember, and sprayed it 50 yards when it was an amazing piece of skill, which he's done once, a couple more times than that as well. But if he's gets on the ball, just gets the head up, and you've got the likes of the pace Maeda and Kyogo possess, they time their run right and are in behind. Could this be the year we start hitting teams in the counter-attack? And it's the Japanese trio at the front of all of it. Why not? These guys, this is where they want to be tested at. These are guys that we hang our hat on week in, week out domestically. The next Judgement Day that you'll have, if you like, sorry, Mark, the next Judgement Day you'll have there will be at Champions League level. Let them come of age at Celtic. Let these Japanese trio just, I'm kind of just putting them all together because I think Hatate's importance when he came off the bench is why he's getting mentioned. Kyogo scored yet again, more similarities all over social media about the best since Larsson. No one's saying as good as. And then you've got Maeda, who looks to be, I think, now the number one winger at Celtic. That's Brendan's first choice winger, whether it be left or right. I think Maeda is his number one winger. These three are going to be crucial to what we do. I've got a feeling that they might just have an impact this year,
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, if you look at I think Maeda's obviously, if we talk about him first, he's obviously somebody who needs and who wants and needs the space to be able to go into and use those power burners that he has for legs. You've seen the goal that was chalked off yesterday for offside. I mean, that's the Maeda we want to see. The skill he showed there. We've seen the two sides of Maeda yesterday, didn't we? With that offside goal, and it was probably just a fraction offside to be fair. But the way he took it, it was just almost sublime because he had the space, he had the pace to get into that space, reach the ball, and then finish it really well. And I think he'll get opportunities like that against the teams that we're going to face.
I'm glad you said that, Johnny. I agree with you because he's finishing. See, when he scored that finish, it was done with real aplomb, wasn't it? And he's been someone that I think he's been guilty at times, Johnny, of when he's had too long to think about it, proving he's not maybe a natural finisher. Whereas that looked a far more refined sort of Maeda finish that, boy, has he been working on that in training or something along those lines, because it was done, as you rightfully say, with aplomb.
Yeah, and he'll get those opportunities, and he'll get more than one opportunity per game in Europe, I think, because they're not going to sit in against us, are they? They're going to come, especially when we're playing away from home. They'll come for us, and they'll give us the opportunities in the space. And I think we've got the players to put the ball through for him to get to. I mean, if you look at yesterday's game, for example, McGregor's pop through for Kyogo's goal. Scales put a couple of nice balls down through for them to run onto as well yesterday. So I think we'll get the gap, we'll get the space, we'll get the opportunities, and we've got to try and take them. We've got to be, what was the buzzword last year was clinical. We're going to have to be more clinical when we get them chances and take them. And I think we've got a good chance of doing it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I just think as well, there's still these guys like Kyogo, Maeda, Hatate. These are not household names across Europe, right? And there's still an element of surprise about them. I think when a Feyenoord, for example, not speaking for their fan base, but just in relative terms, how many of the Feyenoord team could you name, Johnny?
None of them.
Right.
I agree. None of them.
I agree.
I could name one that played from last year, and that's only because he's now played on the other side of ours.
Daniel. So that's good. I'm glad that you said that, because that's exactly what I'm in that space as well. So when you think about, even a Feyenoord wouldn't have heard of Maeda, Hatate, and Maeda. Maeda, Hatate and Kyogo. I think there is an element of surprise that these guys could cause across Europe and get supporters this time around now going, how have we never heard of that Kyogo lad? 28 years old. Maeda, maybe a bit of a bigger profile because he scored at the World Cup and things like that. So there might be fans of the other teams in the group who see Maeda's name and go, recognise that for somewhere. Because you watch every game at the World Cup, don't you? It doesn't matter if your country's in it or no. And then, of course, Hatate. But the element of surprise, what a cool thing it would be if Celtic were associated with the 3 Japanese boys coming out and playing with it. Because see, when you've seen these guys at their best, they've all been absolute strokes of genius. And of course, whilst Ange seems to have, I don't know, a lucky charm in his hand or whatever right now, everything has fallen in his lap. 2 late goals yesterday at Sheffield United. It wouldn't surprise you if he got more good press where everyone goes, who was it that identified those 3 Japanese players for Celtic? And before you know it, they've scored, one of them scored goals in the competition. We're collecting points thanks to the 3 of them in the main. And Ange suddenly manages to get even more and more TV time to talk about, how he'd known them for long and, trusted them all the time and knew they'd have an impact at the top level. But none of this would surprise me the way fortune is landing in his palm of his hand right now. But I would love to see that. And I think those 3 for me, based on the transfer window and based on what we've seen so far from Celtic, particularly the impact from Hatate maybe yesterday, I think it will be on those 3 to sort of be our main weapons, shall we say, in Europe this year, Johnny.
Yeah, I think so. They're our nuclear bomb, if you like. They're ones that can do the damage. Ably supported by the likes of O'Reilly and McGregor. Arthur Johnson at fullback as well. So I think so. Yeah, it would be nice because if it works out that way for us, Bhoycie, then it means we're going to have European football after Christmas, which is where we obviously want to be, depending on regardless of which one it is, Champions League or Europa League. That's where we need to be. A club like Celtic needs to be in Europe beyond Christmas and doing something when we get there as well, by the way. That's why I'm on this. The players should all be made to look at this top, not this particular one that I've got, and obviously there's a Little Lion one, and say, that's where we've been. It was a long, long time ago, but that's where you need to take these fans back to.
Well, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, the guys that are in situ in the squad, whether we think that there's been enough strengthening done or not, they've still got the opportunity to dictate outcomes now. They are the ones in possession of the jersey. And I wonder what the aspirations are for Brendan. He will be always, I think, someone who's ambitious enough to be targeting the likes of beyond Christmas for Europe, things like this, right? I totally get that. He'll want to be the guy who breaks the knockout round duck and things like that. That would be 20 years. I wonder if he feels he's been tooled up enough to do so, or if that gives him that extra motivation. Do you know what? I expected a wee bit more this window. I've lost a £25 million player and I didn't get to even spend that, let alone the Champions League money from last season, this season, the Juranovic money, the Giacomakis money. We could go on and on and on. But he might just like that, Johnny. He might be Brendan going, I know you don't want me here, but I'm going to prove how good I am again and why there was such uproar the last time I left. There'll be a wee bit of needle in that for Rodgers, I think, as well. Don't fall for all his demeanour either, when he seems to be this just humble little Brendan who's just so happy to be back. Lepers don't change their spots. He'll still have that, competitive streak, that ruthless streak, and that ego to massage as well in his quieter moments. So I think when it comes to Champions League, he'll back himself to get the required results for Europe after Christmas, and may then come out with some sort of slide dig, which wouldn't surprise me at all afterwards, to remind people of the difference in the spending that Celtic made compared to other 3 teams in the group, if we were to achieve something like a third or a second place.
I think Brendan's ego will be, he'll want to remind people why he's back, why he's a good manager by winning these games and getting results. And he will back himself. Let's put it this way. think he was the only one who backed us to win at Ibrox 2 weeks ago, because I certainly didn't when I seen that team. But he had that team playing in a way that to nullify Rangers, get through them, and beat them with an unfancied team. It was unfancied by every single one of us in our group chat. I think we all had collective heart attacks when we read when the team sheet came through. Whichever one of us put it on first, probably Connor Carr actually. I looked at it and I thought, we are in for a spanking here. And I thought we were. But one man didn't. He knew what he was doing. And he already knows his team for Tuesday night, doesn't he? He's already said that. He knows who he's putting out there on Tuesday night. So I think he'll back himself to win the games. Not just for Diego, to prove that he is the manager that we all think he is. And to prove it to anybody else that's interested, if you like.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. I'm interested to see how we cope defensively. I think when you seen the inclusion of Scales yesterday, I think that was on merit. Me and Terry spoke about it, but it was on merit from his display at Ibrox. And out of the two centre backs, he had the better game, so he came in. I thought Rodgers may have been tempted just because Taylor's started the season poorly. And whether that's him adapting to being a more traditional left back, albeit, I don't know if you picked up on this yesterday, Johnny, he seemed to be, particularly in the first half, going, I'm just playing inverted today. He was at the centre midfield area quite a lot. Yeah. Even popped up at the near post at a corner from the right-hand side, if you remember, in the first half as well, which is weird. But I think when it comes to at the defence, Nat Phillips, you can see why there was a push to get someone in with that experience there. And I thought he looked very good yesterday, albeit he had a slight knock, but they're just basically bubble wrapping him in cotton wool, whatever you want to call it, for Tuesday. And I will be interested to see who partners him come Tuesday. Liam Scales didn't do anything wrong again yesterday. It's another clean sheet. Will he go for that continuity? Or will it be the £3 million Lagerbielke that comes in and partners him? And that's maybe why he didn't start, because Brendan didn't want to play both from the get-go, that he was going to start on the Tuesday. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I think he'll play Scales.
You think it'll be Scales?
I think he'll play Scales. Although I thought Lagerbielke looked a bit better. I mean, I was I was in agreement with Mark on as far as his performance in the Rangers game. I thought he looked iffy, to say the least. I thought he looked when he came on the second half yesterday. I thought he looked better. I thought his time of the tackle was all right. Don't think he's the fastest in the world, but so I think he's going to have to start being able to read the game and getting ahead of the attackers rather than try and catch up with one. Like we've seen yesterday, he got outrun towards the end of the game when it was the last few minutes. But I think he'll go with Scales.
And Scales, what a journey that would be if it is. Now I know instantly when you see a name like Scales, Champions League, the instant reaction seems to be, see what I mean? It's a fucking joke. Shocking. Let's look at it from a different angle, if we can today. Let's look at it as an absolute triumph for Liam Scales, that when it looked to most as though his Celtic career would never get going again, that despite doing very well, I think, according to all reports at Aberdeen last year, who finished third, remember, the likelihood was by the end of this window, he'd be further off. Now, we can have it on the one hand. We might not think Liam Scales is a good enough name to be playing for Celtic at Champions League level, but can we not now that might be the scenario we're dealt with? Just get 100% behind him and go, well, fucking done, Liam, to even get yourself in that position. At the end of the day, you're going to be still there on merit. There may well be injuries that have played a part. Absolutely. We know the CCV one's the most glaring. But in my opinion, we replaced him instantly. Once Rocky came out, we replaced Rocky with Nat Phillips. And then you've got with the absence of CCV, you've obviously got another player that can come in at £3 million like Lagerbielke. Rocky, CCV out. Lagerbielke's still there. You're ahead of him. So that, for me, a guy who's been signed and back for a few £1 million, I think to get ahead of him. Well done, Liam Scales. And rather than fucking constantly be on this is a disgrace, this is shocking. Why can't we look at it from Liam Scales' point of view and get behind the boy with Tuesday now here? We all know the cards have been dealt. There's no point in continuing going over and over the same cards that have been dealt time and time again. It's all about now going, that's shit, yes, but let's park that bit of the argument and let's get behind the guy that is going to be wearing the jersey, as you were talking about, this Tuesday night in Liam Scales, and go, I've fucking done you. You've proved a few folk wrong already. Who in their right mind would have backed him to get man of the match at Ibrox? Certainly no one on this channel. Absolutely no one in the live chat. He did. Why not just get behind him? Because he needs it as well. It must be shite being a player when it's just like your name's just constantly getting associated with a competition you're not good enough for. What's the point? What's the point in doing that all the time? I get it at the start. See, when there's a transfer window alive, Johnny, and there's one there to be debated, and there's one there that you think you should be doing better in, I actually think the centre-back situation Celtic addressed as best they could. I thought Starfelt left, we brought in Rocky. There was injuries, we brought in another one. We brought in Lagerbielke as well. We complemented that area. And had CCV and Rocky not been injured, you're right, William, anyone's right. William Scales wouldn't be in the equation. But now he is. Rather than focusing that on the board, I think there are options ahead of Liam Scales that we did supply the manager with this time around. It just so happens that the injuries have dictated, and he's managed to get himself ahead of the queue than one of the £3 million summer arrivals. Fair fucks to him. Absolutely fair fucks to him.
Yeah, you've got to give the guy credit. I mean, I wouldn't like to think that anybody at Celtic Park's been signed and they're a bad player. Do we think they're the best players that we can have? Possibly not, but they must have something about them. And if the one thing Scales seems to have definitely shown about him now is the determination to be there and ready when the chance comes up. And like you've just said there, instead of looking at the crap or what you would consider to be the crap thing, have a look at some of the things he's done well recently. Yeah, he had a good game against Rangers. He done what he needed to do. Yeah, he got caught out early doors. Thankfully, the guy was offside anyway, so it didn't really matter. But look at yesterday. He made the situation I just talked about there with Lagerbielke when he got beat for pace. The boy got the ball across. All right, the game was 3-0 already, so the game was won. It was the last few minutes, but it was Scales that got back and got in the way and got the ball cleared. So the one sort of real defensive bit he had to do, he done all right, but he was doing some nice stuff coming forward and putting some nice balls through. So let's look at the things that he had the opportunity to do well yesterday, which he did. I thought he did them well. And hopefully he's going to have to defend a bit more on Tuesday night. I'm not saying hopefully he's going to have to defend a bit more. He will have to defend a bit more on Tuesday night. And hopefully he'll do it to the standard that's required. And again, build on his confidence. And he wouldn't be the first player in the history of football who's taken advantage or not been
so true.
And has taken advantage of somebody else's misfortune and being injured and gone on to have very good careers. So I'm quite sure there'll be quite a few. So he's got himself in that position. He probably thinks he's lucky to get there because, like you said, I was convinced he'd be at Aberdeen this season, either on loan or we might have said, all right, we'll do a cup right deal and let you go. Or if not Aberdeen, somewhere else in England, possibly.
I couldn't agree more. I think sometimes these things just happen. They come about. We don't know how we arrived at the situation, but here we are. I remember Barry Robson coming for Dundee United, mate. He was 29 and a bit. Scored in his Champions League debut against Barcelona, a header off the underside of the bar. How unfancied was that? I remember Paul Hartley doing it. I think he joined us when he was about 30. Scored a crucial goal, a header as well, in fact, against Spartak Moscow. In fact, when you look at Strachan's team, at times that achieved last 16, there was littered with players that were unfancied at that level that came of age. And it might have been through a bit of fortune that they were getting the opportunity. Scott McDonald comes to mind. I think, in fact, the same Spartak Moscow games, he was very much the sub-striker. By the end of that Champions League campaign, he was the number one striker at Celtic. That's the thing. It's funny how it can play out. And as I say, the cards have been dealt. And we could go on and on forever, moaning at the Celtic board for it. They should always be held to account. You should always have your eyes on them. But Tuesday, my eyes are firmly focused this time around on the game in hand. And that'll be backing the boys that are there and hoping they'll be able to do something of that warrants some sort of point. 3 points? You never know, man. You never know. But Liam Scales, I think you're right, will start the game. I think Brendan's one of these man managers as well, who I think O'Reilly's touched on it. There's a real communication he has with the players. And I think that's his way of man management. He breeds confidence into people. He breeds confidence into them. And I think the dialogue he'll be having with Liam Scales, maybe he's just made him feel that extra few inches tall that he needed to put on the jersey first time around and play such a confident display against Ibrox. Never underestimate the power of what can happen before the game starts. So if you've got the right guy above you giving you these brilliant sort of pep talks, motivational speeches, encouragement, things like that. And I wonder if Scales right now is just a moment in time, injuries have arose, the opportunity's there, and when the opportunities came, he's not just been cold-shouldered into that jersey, he's been sort of, on you go, you're my man for the start. I was always playing you anyway.
I never rated him anyway.
Mind tricks.
The board signed him, I didn't want him.
You know what that board's like, Liam. You know, I know. I told them I didn't need another centre back. I've got 1 million centre halves. You never know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Other than that, Johnny, I want to talk to you about the wing position. I thought Palmer would have started yesterday. I thought Yang had been used as a sub, looked raw around the edges, and very much looked to me the project player we expected him to be. Bags of ability, by the way. Bags of ability. But decision-making in the final third, when to release the ball, when to play a pass, when you've beat a man, not having to beat him again. These things will all come, by the way. They'll come in time. I thought that Palmer was signed more as that oven-ready, as I like to say, player. Albeit, notwithstanding that, when you've been away in South America midweek, that can influence your decision-making if you're going to start again. It now looks to me to be a shootout between Yang and Palmer for the right wing slot, unless James Forrest has been watching Rocky over the last, couple of nights and he's decided he's going for the comeback of all comebacks in the Champions League. But I can't see it. Will Palmer or Yang get the nod on the right-hand side of the front three, if you like? As I said earlier, I think Maeda is undeniably the number one winger at the club now under Brendan. And such as that means the left-hand side is taken up. Will it be Yang? Will it be Palmer? Or will it be James Forrest on the right-hand side?
Don't think it'll be James Forrest. I think it'll be Palmer. And I'm only basing that purely on he's got more European football experience than the Yang. Yang's obviously come from Korea. Palmer was come from the Greek league, wasn't it? Yeah. So he's got a bit more.
The Greek Super League, LIG.
Yeah. So I don't know how much European competition football experience he has, but he has more experience of playing against European teams, which I think might just push him in that, give him the nod ahead of Yang, and Yang will start on the bench, I think.
You would expect with the money involved and the track record that Palmer's got already in Europe, albeit the Greek Super League is probably another one of these leagues we've got the cheek to turn our nose up at. Those who only watch Celtic, maybe, or, I dare say a lot of the games in that league are of a higher standard than, forgive me, Ross County against Dundee. Do you know what I mean? I dare say a lot of the games he's played in have been a higher standard than that. And he had Jota numbers in that league last season. It came in at a cool €4 million, I think it was. Something like that. Yeah, it doesn't exactly tickle our balls, if you like, in terms of what we think Celtic should be spending on a player. But undeniably, he's got that experience under his belt already, where you would expect someone with such a track record would be someone who you would be surely be signed him for the bigger games. Surely he's going to be influencing outcomes in derbies going forward in the Champions League, and hopefully getting similar numbers in the SPFL overall to what he did in Greece. I think you're right. I think you'll go for him. I think Yang could be an effective sub, a wild card, if you like, Johnny. I like that term for Yang. I think he could be a bit of a wild card coming off the bench that catches team out with his trickery, his pace, and I suppose he's a bit of the unexpected because he probably doesn't know what he's going to do next yet. So if you doesn't know, then a defender, it can make it a nightmare for them. But I would definitely think Palmer was maybe just held off starting Johnny because of his midweek exertions with international duty, as I say, other side of the world. And then it's a case of keep you ready to make your debut, albeit it'll be starting your first game for Celtic in the Champions League. But the jerseys don't shrink. Make it yours, mate. That's the one I would go for.
I think that's what he'll do. I think it'll be Palmer, and like I said, I think purely because he's got more experience. He's got more top level experience than Yang, and that's purely why I would say he would get the nod. Look at us turning into Brendan Rodgers all of a sudden, mate. Eh?
What do you mean?
Picking the team, knowing what he's going to do.
Well, that's what we always do, don't we? We always pick the teammates. That's always going to happen. I think it's an important part of the debate, mate. It's an important part of the debate because it's so easy, as I say, to get hung up on who we've not signed. That there is still options there. Let's debate which ones are most important. Again, as I say, with the right-hand side, it's a bit of it'll be quite exciting to see what Palmer does stepping up to that role at that level. And again, it could be another one that puts to bed he was only 3 million or 4 million quid. Do you know what I mean? Like, a wee bit underwhelmed by that, considering we sold Jota for 25. Numbers-wise, totally on board with that. Totally get it. But we might see him start and be so effective for us that we can't believe we got him for such a bargain basement price, Johnny,
Well, we've got another one in the team who can't remember how much we paid for him. No European football experience, I think, might have a big part to play to Tuesday night, and that's Alistair Johnson. I think he'll be a bit of a surprise package on Tuesday night. He could have had 2 goals yesterday for a start.
Well, that's true, and it's his Champions League debut.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
As well. And this is the carrot that Celtic can dangle to young players. And I get the model being you want to get players who haven't played in one of the bigger leagues to get a gateway. It's like a gateway to the bigger leagues coming to Celtic and an exposure at the very, very highest level, which is Champions League. And that's such a tantalising prospect for a lot of players. Some end up falling in love and want to extend their stay. Some go, no, this is working out exactly like I wanted it to. Like Juranovic, who now is in a top 5 league within 18 months. Fair enough. I understand that as well. Johnston, I'm excited for the Champions League. Do you know what he brings? A solidity at the back that actually, speaking of Juranovic, if you remember last season's Champions League campaign, he was exposed at that level time and time again. That may well be Juranovic plays for a better team this time around in the Champions League, or a supposed better team, and he doesn't look quite as exposed. But for us playing Ange Ball last time out in the Champions League, it was Juranovic, undeniably, who was the target for opposing teams. They attacked us down that side. You remember the Shakhtar goal? It was Mudryk who scored, don't get me wrong. Mudryk could hurt a lot of defenders, including Alistair Johnston. But it was time and time again, it felt like when the scouting had all been said and done, the video analysis all said and done, there's the boy that you go for. And that's the weakness that they're in their defence. It felt like that anyway. Maybe I just didn't like Juranovic and I'm overthinking it. But that's how it felt like. I do feel that I'll be a wee bit more secure in my headspace anyway when it comes to defensively on that right-hand side with Alistair Johnson than what I did Joseph Juranovic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he's got that. He's got that strength. He's not going to let people push him around either. Like, he's no shrinking violet, is he? So yeah. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing him attacking as well. Getting forward when he gets the opportunity. I think he can cause Johnson loves a debut. Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him as well. I think he could be just as an important player as anybody else, to be fair. But how worried were you yesterday when Kyogo went off holding his arm?
I was, I don't know what it sounds a smart ass, but I kind of felt like I knew what was going on. I was like, he's popped. He's not wanting to get it popped back in because he's going to squeal, right? And he's not wanting to squeal in the middle of the pitch. He didn't seem to ask to come off. He just seemed to be like, I'm going down the tunnel, I'll be back in 2 minutes. But no, okay, I think Owen Palmer went to warm up, but at no point did it look like Celtic were making a sub. I think he'd clearly communicated that he needs a physio to pop that shoulder back, and I think it just popped. Then the next 5 minutes, you watched him, he looked like he was running with it slightly lower. That's natural, mate, when someone's agony. There's going to be agony for a good 4 or 5 minutes and intense pain. And after that, I think he was absolutely fine. I felt that at the time that what he was doing was it's either dislocated or slightly just popped out. It just needs that painful popped back in, if you like. And I just thought he's just done it off camera, shall we say. He didn't have the on-air sign behind him, Johnny. He thought, if I squeal, I ain't doing it in the middle of Celtic Park in front of 60,000 folk.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to come off either when we didn't immediately get somebody stripped. You know, I know, like you said, Owen that went out for a quick warm up just in case the message came back saying no, it's worse than we thought. But I thought he was going to come back on. But I'm a bit worried because I didn't actually see the incident that it happened in. So
yeah, it showed it. It did show it. It's the slightest tug, and that tells me that it's popped. He said problems with the shoulder anyway.
Yeah,
but there's a sort of tug by the opposition's defender. You just see it just sort of dip a wee bit, and I wonder if just an awkward way it's been tugged, not because it's been complete crazy force by the opposing defender or anything like that, Johnny. I just think it's went awkward, and it's just he's felt it. He's like, oh no, get me out of here. Sounded like Paolo Nutini there. Oh no. But I think I didn't panic. But if you were panicking, I would suggest that's probably because the stark competition we've got in that jersey becomes clearer and clearer to see when you get moments like that. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean that was the first thing I thought when he went off. The first thing I thought was, see, that'll be Bhoycie going on about the fact that we've got a shortage of strikers and validation of your opinion, which obviously none of us have really argue with it regarding that particular subject. We're all aware that. I mean, I remember the days when we used to have 3, maybe even 4 strikers on the books at Celtic Park, and it was nothing unusual. Now it's getting to the stage where 2, maximum of 3, seems to be a lot of managers want, unless you're Michael Beale, of course, who wants a dozen of them. But
see, yesterday I was watching. So I watched the games back to back. It was quite cool to watch it. I was saying yesterday to Terry about contrasting and comparing and stuff. They brought in a guy called Sima, right? I've never heard of this guy in my life. And then I realised, I was like, so they signed Sima, Danilo, Lammers, Dessers. 4 strikers he signed, but he was moaning about having 21 shots more than everyone else in the league. They just need to take their chances. Well, you signed 4 strikers. He starts Kemar Roof as his number 1 striker. And I think Matondo's starting more games than the other 3 as well this season. Who's came in for the cold?
That's Sealer. He's on loan, isn't he?
I've never heard of him. I don't know.
He's on loan from Brighton. Is that the one that's on loan? He's on loan from Brighton. I'm sure he is. He's never played for Brighton.
I've never seen him in my life.
I don't think he's even played for Brighton yet, but he's on loan from Brighton. But yeah, so yeah, I'm just worried that if it pops out that easy, some people. I remember Brian Robson. His career was blighted by shoulder injuries. He was forever dislocating his shoulder, that one. But when he did do it, he tended to also be out of action for quite a few weeks. So I'm just a bit worried that somebody will target Kyogo and take that shoulder out and make a good job of it if there's such a thing.
It's weird though, because I just don't know. I don't know if the European teams really, in modern day football, I think 20 years ago, there was a lot more streetwise sort of defenders who went off. Is there a weakness there? Chink in the armour? We'll target that. Remember when we played Celtic Vigo under Martin? They were dirty bastards at the back. Berdiso, I think he was called, something like that. There was 2 Argentine defenders they had, and you knew what their game was. I don't think you'll get that now. I think Kyogo's actually safer in the Champions League than he is the SPFL, to be honest.
Well, we'll see what Atletico Madrid turn up with.
Oh, true. Aye, big Simeone. Aye, that's a good point. That's a good point. I'm maybe writing that off a wee bit.
I always remember the original.
Oh, the shame game.
The shame game, 74.
What was the story with that?
Oh, they were just fucking animals, mate.
Really bad.
They were just animals. I mean, it was. You ever seen the picture of Jimmy Johnson on the treatment table the day after it, and his legs are just like one big, massive bruise all over his legs. He was kicked all over the place. I think there was a guy, some of the older guys on the bus will be able to. Ruben Ayala, I think his name was.
Right.
Big long-haired guy, and he was a fucking savage. I mean, so yeah, but yeah, I don't think they're as bad as that nowadays. But I don't think they'll be too shy in leaving a mark when he gets the chat, if they get the opportunity or if they feel the need.
Have Celtic got the physicality they can match teams up like that anymore, Johnny?
What was that?
Have Celtic got the physicality now in their squad where they can match up with that when games do get like that, or even use it to a weapon to our own advantage, whether the game's going like that or not? I still feel we're a wee bit lightweight.
I think we're a lot lightweight in that department. If it comes to a square go, if you like, for one of a better expression, I think it's the only one who's going to meet the superstore at 4 will be Alistair Johnson. I think we're very lightweight in that department, unless the 3 Japanese lads have got their black belts at judo or anything like that. No, I don't think we've got that kind of. I don't think we can bully teams. To be fair, I don't think we can intimidate them. Back in the, and I'm not saying this man in particular, but a Wanyama sort of type. You always felt nobody's gonna mess about with him.
Yeah,
but I just think the only one that could, and he won't be playing on Tuesday. Maybe CCV as well. He's obviously a big lad. I think he could put himself about if he needed to. But they're not dirty players. I don't think it's in their manner or in their makeup. But I think CCV and Johnson could look after themselves, but the other ones don't give me that impression. I don't think they can dig in and get hangers, but not if it was to turn brutal. I don't think they're intimidating enough. To be fair, we haven't got enough of those sorts, or if any of them. To be fair,
is there an attitude in the modern game now from a younger generation of fans, and even myself, I got in there. But is there like with the younger fans? I think there's a snobbery to it. There's a snobbery to it. Everything's about technique. And I think at times that's actually a more ignorant attitude to one that I would hold, for example, where I go, I love having loads of technical players. That I think I look at Hatate, for example, I was talking about those spinning volley passes that we seen Champions League last year. I think it was against Real Madrid. It was just a thing of beauty. I love all that stuff. But as I always have said on this channel, there is many ways to skin a cat. And I think there's almost this ignorance to, we don't need big bruisers. Football's moved on from that. Well, I think Celtic need to have different sort of styles to try and take on teams that, if you go like for like against these teams, such are the budget disparities, or Celtic bold the definition of a budget, then we're going to need to find other ways. I just wonder if the physical attributes the Celtic side have, as well as being, and we're a good side, but we're not a great side by any stretch of the matter. A lot of teams will still be able to pass us around the park for fun, pass us off the park for fun. We can't really mix it though if the going was to get tough, backs against the wall, only a goal down, last 10 minutes. We can't really. I don't think there's many in there that can change our style up too much. And I would rather there was that bit of balance in the squad. I don't necessarily mean we need to have 11 bruisers, Johnny. I don't even need to have any bruisers in the starting lineup some games. But I think you can sometimes mix it up a wee bit more. I'll talk about Giakoumakis again. A perfect different sort of box of tricks to be able to either bring on or start with in certain games that maybe the squad is lacking right now. Anyway, that's 12 o'clock. It is exciting time.
Just before we finish up there, the man you just mentioned, the Giakoumakis, that's exactly what one. Somebody like that. Giakoumakis, good player, technical player. Not saying to be dirty, but if he needed to let somebody know he was there.
He can mix it.
I can't remember what particular game it was, who it was, the Rangers player. I remember you talking about it on the bus when they went in for a challenge, running through, and Jack Marcus just hit him with his shoulder and sent him sliding through the turf. That's what we need. I don't think we've got enough players like that in the squad anymore. So anyway, but that's it.
You're absolutely right. FGT says football's getting shit with the woke agendas in groups. You're probably not right there, mate. It's just one of those things. Right, anyway, we'll let it go. Johnny, you're off to Heathrow, mate, so I will let you get cracking. Everyone else, enjoy your Sunday. We'll be back tomorrow for the Monday Club with Jonathan. Another further look ahead to our Champions League opener. A wee bit of sudden death thrown in there as well. Don't know why I'm still playing that game with him. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks so much to everyone who's joined in. Remember, give us a like, give us a share, slag the hair, all that good stuff. See you